Our Lionheart Children's Academy Player of the Week goes to Mr. Bear Hodges of the 3rd grade boys Tigers team. The Tigers had a doubleheader this week, and the coach of the Tigers said this about Mr. Bear. He said, Bear brought intensity and hustle on both sides of the courts. His defense was disruptive and aggressive, and he even blocked a shot in the first quarter. On offense, Bear consistently worked hard to get the ball to the basket and score. He also went up hard for rebounds and after loose balls. He played hard every minute he was on the court. So, Bear, congratulations. You are this week's Player of the Week, sponsored by Lionhearts Children's Academy. This week's Coach of the Week, sponsored by Exquisite Lawns, goes to Chase Johnson of the 5th and 6th boys Rim Reapers. The Rim Reapers have had a tough start. Their last 3 games, they're winless. But despite being winless, Chase got back in the gym during practice and he regrouped and they worked on a new defense. His changes had his team up early last game, and despite being very short-handed and having his top player foul out early in the second quarter, his coaching, he managed to hold his more talented opponent off until the 4th quarter before falling in a close game. The regrouping and the changes that he made significantly impacted his last game. It was a new team that came out last Saturday, and it was all because of Chase's optimism and also the way that he coached. So, Chase, thank you so much for being a great example of never, ever giving up. Thank you so much, and you are this week's Coach of the Week, sponsored by Exquisite Lawns.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 57. It is a New Year's episode, right? We're going to be discussing some things today about New Year, New You, right? How you can, as a family, overcome some stuff and sharpen your skill set to be better at a lot of different things. They say New Year's, you have these resolutions, right? And they always fail.
Yeah, I'm not into resolutions.
Yeah.
Can you remember the last resolution that you set?
I don't even think I have. If I have, it didn't last very long.
Yeah, it's been a long time. The problem with resolutions is that, I think it's important to look back, which we'll get into today, and to see where you can become better so that you can see how you can become better.
Right.
But the problem with resolutions is you're like, if you're making a resolution, you've only decided to do that within the last 5 days.
Yeah.
Leading up to New Year's Eve or New Year's Day.
Right.
And it's usually something that is, I don't know, I would say too measurable.
Yeah.
Like as far as the metrics go, like weight loss, it usually revolves around fitness, but but those things are so fleeting. And while weight loss may be a good goal, there's a lot of other things to consider in this.
Yeah, for sure. And like if you're at my house, if you make a resolution, it doesn't even have to be New Year's, but it's always, there's another Monday.
Yeah.
We'll start next Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll start tomorrow.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't have a lot of momentum going any of that. So the accountability is not there.
For sure. So we have conquered Christmas, conquered or enjoyed, whichever one you prefer to use. Yeah. And so now, we're kind of in this, some would classify as kind of a dead week, where you're just kind of waiting for New Year's Eve to get here. Christmas is past. Maybe you're still eating leftover ham or turkey from Christmas Day. Yeah. What do you guys cook on Christmas Day? Which I'll have.
A little bit of everything. Yeah. I love to smoke a ham.
Okay. You just said that. Yeah. So, as you have all of this, time off, or maybe you're traveling and you're listening to this podcast, we want to be true to who we are, winning with the home team.
Yeah.
And as you take a look at your year in review, how can you look at your year in review to make your upcoming year more purposeful? We'll go with that.
Yeah.
So, do you and Amy have end of year meetings?
Yeah, so usually about this time, about a little before this time during the holidays, we actually get time to sit down together, and we'll look back at, I mean, pretty much everything. We take inventory of where the kids are at, how things are going in our marriage, how things are going financially, all the things.
Yeah.
And we try to look forward as much as possible. But like, that's the thing is we look back, but we look back so that we can prepare to go forward.
For sure.
And, any changes that need to be made. And sometimes, by the way, like, you got to put your ego away, because Amy will be like, we need to do a better job of this or this or this. And you're like, oh yeah, that's, all of those are on me, but, rightfully so. And, but we do, we take a complete overlook at everything that's happened.
Yeah. Dean and I usually do this on a road trip. This year we will have done it while traveling to North Carolina, and we just kind of, I guess while Taya has watched Tom and Jerry for the third hour in a row, right? We'll just talk about this. So, for me, in order for me to start this, you mentioned you look at the year in review. In order for me to do this, like, I go to my photos.
Yeah.
Because when Dean asks what did you enjoy most this year, I'm like, I don't know. Like, let me look back at what we did. Right. So it's either looking at my calendar or my photos.
Yeah.
And so, this is helpful because, it's helpful and it's not helpful in the context of looking back, because usually you're only taking pictures of the things that you enjoy, right? Like those happy memories that I have. Right. You're not taking pictures of things, of days when you've had a bad day, or when things went south in a relationship, or work didn't go as planned. But those things tend to stick out more than a picture, right? I mean, look, you can think about those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and like, if you're me, the running joke at our house is, I don't look at pictures because they make me sad. Because they do. They make me sad. Like, pictures of my kids, like, those are my memories, and I don't want to think that I won't have those memories back again. Like, I'll have the memories, but not the moments. So it makes me sad to go back and look at pictures. But I'm still the guy who will take those pictures. I just take them, and as long as I know they're there, they're stored away. If I need them, they're good. But it makes me sad because the kids grow up so fast. Even Taya, like, the other night, I took a picture of her when she was being goofy, and I remember, I was gonna send it to you. And I was like, oh my gosh, this girl is tall and growing up, and I'm thinking to myself, where does time go? And so sometimes I get sad to go back in it. So I can't do the picture thing, but I go off of memory.
We maybe you do, as you're sitting down with your spouse, or even, as you're thinking, if you're a single parent, if you're thinking about this in the context of just yourself, I would say always start with the good. Okay. Hence the highlight reel, right? It'll give you motivation to keep going in both your reflection and your purpose of a new year. We're a social media driven culture, so we usually, like, I will literally create a highlight reel on Instagram for the year, like a year looking back.
Yeah.
But it is pictures, so I don't know that you can, because pictures make you.
Yeah, it's okay. I can do the year. Yeah.
And then, bleeding into that, talk about the highs, the lows, and the grows.
Okay. Define the grows.
The highs and the lows. So the highs are easy. What were the highs? You can usually find that. I would say that that's more than a picture. It could be a moment that was represented by a picture, but the highs are, what did you successfully do well, either as a family or as an individual. The lows, things that didn't go well, right? And then I think that the grows come out of the lows. Okay. They could potentially.
So you're talking about,
how can you get better?
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So do you and Dean generally agree on what those things are, or do you have different things usually?
Here's what works with Dean and I. We are so much alike. Usually you say, opposites, a scratch or,
Right.
those they're the same, collide, whatever. I'm sure they're the same for that. But usually Dean and I know what the other person is thinking before we even say a word. Right. So like agreeing is not necessarily your problem with us. Like we're always going to agree. I know that sounds fairy tale. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe it is. But yeah, I most certainly, like, I will know, because, our jobs are so time intensive in the evening here. I will know when he's done. Like when he's done with me being up here.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to say it.
Right.
Like I can see it in his body language, even though he doesn't have bad body language. But I don't know. I could just sense it. Yeah. Like, can you sense when something's up with Amy?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah, what was your question?
So, like, well, I mean, you kind of answered it. So, like, for us, when we start looking back and trying to determine what needs to be different, sometimes because we spend so much time apart, the way that we see things is different. Like, I can tell that she might be upset about something, but she sees things through a different lens because maybe I'm not at home at night.
Yeah.
She is. And so I tend to go towards, well, when I get home, I have to do this to her house. And she's thinking about scheduling with the kids. And so that's the importance of the communication aspect, is we have to come together because we're not home very much at the same time. She has a job where she's at work sometimes in the evenings. Like you said, we're here a lot in the evenings. And then, we have to come together and say very intentionally at the end of every day, like, how was your day? And I can be, this goes beyond like the yearly review, but if the communication isn't there daily, then you'll get to the yearly review and it'll be a complete surprise about where they're coming from. If you're not in tune with them in the raw day to day.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I don't ask Dean how his day was.
Yeah.
But depending on our capacity to really talk without a 6-year-old interrupting,
Right.
the conversation can only go so far.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, it was fun. Mom, oh, what happened? Oh, Bluey, something like that. But like, so case in point, we went to eat on Friday night, and earlier that night I had asked him, how was your day? And he just said, he said fine. But he said fine in a way that I knew it wasn't fine. Right. And so we continued to talk, and then about midway through dinner, he explained to me his day. And I think that takes being able to open up, even if it's your spouse whom you've known for however many years that you've been married or, dating, like, I think it takes intentionality to be vulnerable in your conversations.
Absolutely.
You can't, and it's not something that is just expected.
Yeah.
It takes time, and it takes patience.
It does. And it takes, well, I'll give you an example. Of last night. I was here late last night. Amy calls me on her way home and she says, hey, how's it going? And I said, I'm going to be late. She's like, how late? I said, I don't know, about an hour or so. And I said, I'm working on this, but I'm trying to get it done so I can get home because I haven't been home at all this week.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay. Well, do you want to hear a funny story? And I'm like, no, I don't.
You said no?
Yes. Like, I'm trying to get done with my work so I can get home. And I tell her, I'm like, let me finish this so you can tell me face to face. And the reality is, like, I get home and now I'm just like, oh, I just don't want to talk. I mean, that's me anyway, but I don't want to talk. And so you're right. You have to be intentional about being vulnerable and being willing to be open. I don't really care what happened at ACA for that day. I really don't. But I care about my wife and I care about how she's handling things. And so you have to be able to do that. So then when you bring that around full circle to the end of year thing, again, like if you're not in it with them every day and having those discussions, when you get to the end of the year, it's almost like, oh, who is this family? I don't recognize these people and what happened. Yeah. So we have to be very careful about that.
And I know that it won't surprise you one bit when I say this, but can I just be honest and say when Dan and I are having these conversations, it takes intentionality on my part to stay in the conversation.
Yes.
I know it doesn't surprise you.
No, it doesn't, because I'm the same way. Yeah, you're right.
It is so hard to mentally stay there because because I want to.
Uh-huh.
I mean, this goes with any conversation
Yeah.
that I'm in.
Wait, let me stop you because for those of you that don't know, I have literally been in the middle of a sentence. I finish it and she will say, "Can you go back and repeat that? I wasn't listening."
It's nothing against you at all. But man, what I wish, I don't know, maybe we'll classify it as ADD. I don't know, but I'm just always thinking about the next thing.
Yeah. It's hard not to.
And I hate that about myself.
I don't think it's just you. I really don't. I really don't.
I'm so task oriented that I'm always thinking about, okay, I know that we're having this conversation, but really I need to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, which is why I think it's important that we make this point because you mentioned the word fairy tale.
Yeah.
And look, my marriage is not that at all.
Yeah.
Like it's not fairy tale. And I suspect if we sat down and had conversation about it, we would get to the place where you're like, okay, we're not fairy tale either as we have all these issues, but when we're talking about communicating and, looking back over, what we're talking about is correcting the things that aren't right, and how we get better at that moving forward. Yes, it's a new year, but just in general, to take, stock in where are we and how can we get better, just in general, because trust me, you guys are out there watching this right now. We're all in the same place. We're all trying to figure out marriage and families and parenting and all that together.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah. I think too, it's important to, before you even begin the conversation, I think it's strategic to plan it, right? Like, not necessarily like put it on a calendar, but just tell your spouse, hey, let's talk about this. And even before you get there, like, I think it's really intentional to begin that time with prayer, like leading up to it. Because like you said, like Amy could say some hard things to you and it takes you a second to acknowledge it. Right. So going into an end of the year meeting or, as we're looking forward for purpose, I think it's crucial to be in prayer, both for your heart as you process all the things, but then genuinely asking direction for the upcoming year.
Yeah, that's really good.
Because, we can shoot the moon
in
regards to all the things that we want to do. Right. But if it's not something that is, that is purposed by God and that you feel like God is leading you to, it's just another resolution.
Which is why I really love what you're saying about, doing this in general, especially an end of the year or beginning of the year kind of thing, is because you want to be able to prepare for that moment. Because what happens is if you don't, then we just take it for granted and things just continue to slide. If you have this moment that you're building up to where we can actually sit down and review it, then you can create a heart posture going into it through prayer and through, okay, I want to make sure that I'm intentional about what I say and how I say it. I think it also shows your partner that, hey, I value you enough to have this conversation because I want us to be stronger. And I think that sends a message. Amy may not like anything I've done throughout the year, but she cares enough about me to sit down and tell me, what it is that she feels about these things. So I think that's important. There was I don't remember where I heard it. May have been a guest on the podcast, but I was talking to a guy one time and he was talking about working out. And, you mentioned resolutions and how they fail and all that kind of stuff. And he said, we have to take the right mindset going into it. So he said, January, I don't go near a gym. I don't go anywhere near a gym. That's when all the people are there. He's like, I'd take January off. February, I'll go into the gym and I'll have more conversation than I do workout because I'm just kind of reintroducing my body and my mind to the fact that the gym exists and that's where I'm going. He said by March, that's when I start working out. And as I get further into the year, I've acclimated myself. April, I'm hitting it hard. And summertime, I'm really going. And then he said, as I get closer to Thanksgiving, I start to trail off a little bit. I enjoy myself during the holidays. And then I start it all over again. But he said, if you go into the year thinking January 1, I'm in the gym and I'm going to do it 365, he said, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why I think with regard to family, if you say we're going to have this meeting and the day after everything is going to be perfect, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, I think that you have to, like, as you're planning for a purpose new year, like you have to set small expectations. very small. Like it's the little habits that you do that formulate, what's that saying? I know that you probably know it more than I do. Like it's the little habits that you do that form who you are as a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So back to your point, going to the gym 4 times a week in January, you probably shouldn't make that. Like,
Right.
I think it needs to be more of a lifestyle. Like, this is who you are, and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, because if you set those expectations and you don't meet them, the tendency is to just walk away altogether. And same with marriage is if you set those expectations, number one, of your spouse, I would like for you to do X, Y, and Z throughout this year. There's a good chance they're not going to be able to do that and meet your expectations. Or I would like to be able to do this for you throughout the year. I mean, there's a better chance for that because I have control over it. But it's very difficult when you start setting expectations for other people because you're setting yourself up for failure. So when you have these meetings, it needs to be a common goal. What can we do to support each other and show each other that we respect each other and those kind of things?
Yeah. What's one way that you and Amy have won with your home team this year?
This year?
Yeah, this year. 2025.
Man, I would say financially, like it's been a rough year. It's been a really rough year financially. But for whatever reason, like we have found joy in each other, do we go out to eat? No, we don't. And we don't spend money, certainly not frivolously, but really at all. But we've rediscovered, how good it can be to be at home. And, it's been a victory for us. I'll tell you something. Let's talk about how, you pull the curtain back and things aren't so good. This past week, I guess it was Saturday. It was Saturday because it was college football. May TV goes out completely.
Oh no, the Alabama.
Yeah. No, thankfully it was after the Alabama game. I didn't get to see that Alabama game.
The Lord was kind.
But you know what? So after it, it went out, and my initial thought was, good. Honestly, because that's where we've come to as a family, where I'm like, man, I get to spend time in this room without a TV on.
Yeah.
Talking to my family. I think I sent you a video of my daughter dancing around with the dog last night. Like what a blessing. And I think the win for us this year has been that we've been able to look around and say, we don't have a lot of money, but we have each other.
Yeah.
And kind of rediscovering each other.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. I think if you were to ask me, I think that we have done a good job with getting around the table and eating together.
Yeah.
And that is all props to, I think it takes two. I think it's props to Dean because he's the cook.
Yeah.
So he makes it happen.
Yeah.
But then I'm present.
Right.
Which is hard.
That's huge though.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And so I don't know. I guess I would encourage you guys, if you're listening, there is something that happens. Would you agree when families are around the table having meals together? It doesn't even have to be around the table at your house. Like it could be at Chick-fil-A or wherever you choose to go.
Right.
But there's a stability when families eat together, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's a growth that happens. There's trust that's built, communication that happens. I would say too, turn your TV off if you're eating dinner.
That's so good.
Because if your children are anything like mine, they'll watch the TV instead of eat, which defeats the whole purpose of having dinner together.
Yeah. But you're right. There is something to be said for having family around and just being present, and it just feels right and it feels good and it bonds you together. And I love that. What was the show Blue Bloods, where they eat Sunday dinner together every Sunday night? I think that's fantastic. I really do. And it's hard. You guys know this. It's hard, but when you have multiple kids, especially, and you're playing different sports and you have work involved and all the engagements, and it can be tough. But if you're intentional about spending time with your family and how you want to do that, it pays off big time.
Yeah. Do you and Amy talk about as you look forward, you talk about things that you want to do as not as a family, but as individuals, like areas in which you want to grow.
Yeah, yeah. Specifically for her, this past year was I don't know if it was a career move, but she has a new position at her work. And so, we spent a lot of time where, I just listened to, hey, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to get there. These are the things that I think that we need to consider financially and those kinds of things. And I find myself when I listen to her talk about that stuff, just like, I don't know that I would say falling in love all over again, but there's something about it where, when your spouse has that twinkle in their eye about wanting to move, to a different level, and you're like, yeah, that's impressive. And I love that. And same with me, like we're constantly thinking about how can we make our own lives better, but keeping in mind like where we want to go together. Yeah. How about y'all?
Yeah, for sure. I think that we talk about this every single year. But if I'm honest, it's not a fairy tale conversation. It's probably a conversation that has a lot more questions than probably answers in regards to our own individual, what's next, or what challenges do we want to face head on. I think last year, this past year, our biggest win was getting Taya healthy.
Yeah.
Like that was the focus. And so, last year we didn't have much to focus on except that.
Right.
We didn't want to focus on anything except that. Yeah. That was upfront and personal. Just let me say this, like, I know that we're talking about looking at the year in review for a purpose, new year, but I mean, you may be in a spot right now where things are just not well in a certain aspect of your life, and you can't think through, what we're talking about, looking at the past year and then purposing forward. There may be a mountain that seems immovable, and you can't think past that. Have you guys had those times?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. And so, this may sound like a good podcast to tackle, but we do realize that for some of us, I think I had that in the past year where, there's something that just, it's all that you think about, and, but I think that's where, that's where prayer and just depending on the Lord to come through in the next year, through wisdom, through, a circumstance change, or maybe just finding peace in your own heart. That in and of itself is purposed.
Yeah.
For every year. So.
Yeah. And I think it's important to point out too, like, sometimes we don't always agree when we get to these places, and especially those points of pressure that you're talking about where it seems like a mountain is not movable. There are times when we both discuss it, and clearly there's not an agreement on the path that we want to take, so we walk away. And sometimes that's for an hour, sometimes it's for a week. And then we come back and we readdress it with a different approach. Like maybe I have to pray about and think about, am I really being too stubborn on this issue, whether it's financial or otherwise, and so we have to come back and revisit that topic. And most of the time when you come back and revisit, there's some concessions that are made that, okay, maybe I did see it from your perspective. So you have to be able to give yourself that kind of wiggle room where you can both respect each other enough to say, I don't agree with you, but let me think about this, and then come back.
Yeah. Well, I think that you mentioned it earlier, like if you're not communicating all throughout the year, this meeting is impossible.
100%.
At the very end, right? Yeah. And so reps and talking and meeting and making sure that you guys are unified as, as a family is crucial.
And it's been great for me because my wife is very good about, the thought that, hey, look, you're the head of our family. Ultimately, you're going to make the decision on which way we go. The more that she does that, the more that she expresses that, the more I am sensitive to what it is that she needs and wants. because if she was not that way and she was just ultimately like, hey, this is the way we're going to do it, I don't care, then I'm not going to be very willing to, to consider her feelings. But the sacrificial way in which she loves me and our family sends such strong shockwaves through me that I want to do everything I can to honor her. And I mean, that's biblical.
Yeah.
We're not always great at that, I'm not always great at that. But I've learned over the last 25 years to really consider her feelings before I just, say, no, this is what we're doing and move forward.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Closing thoughts?
You mentioned it, communication.
Yeah.
Man, and then we could do a couple hours on communication, and just, I mentioned to you kind of pregame here that I worked shift work a long time, a lot of nights, a lot of holidays, weekends, and so we missed each other quite a bit. And we had the huge calendar on the wall at home with the kids' activities and all that, and really at that time it was communicate or die. Like, you have to find out, and maybe that's not 3 hours at home, having conversations, because you don't have that. Maybe it's, letters left by the bed, or, text messages or whatever, but you have to find a way to communicate. You just have to, because in my opinion, that's the number one killer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Well, Happy New Year. And I hope that you guys celebrate well. I hope that your conversations go well. But if you haven't, start praying about how to have those conversations with the people that you love, so that we can be on purpose for the next year.
Yeah.
So
good.
All right. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in 2026.
Man, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed hearing us ramble about youth sports or other strangely interesting sports topics related to families, please go and like and subscribe to the show so that you can get regular updates when a new podcast is released. We'd also love to connect with you. Head on over to our socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We're under LC Sports and Recreation.
And if you're new to our podcast, go check out some of our previous episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. There's some good stuff on there. And pay attention, because these come out pretty quickly, weekly, as a matter of fact. And you're going to learn a lot about what we have to say with regards to our league and how to win with the home team.